Thanks for watching this how to play video for the new game Push and Pull, which has been created by Caritas Aotearoa New Zealand as part of the Resources for Social Justice Week 2022, where the focus is racism. Push and Pull is a game for 3 to 6 players. It has a short playing time of about 10 to 15 minutes. It can be played at 3 different levels to cater for a range of ages. There is the junior version for 5 to 8-year-olds, the standard game for 8 to 12-year-olds, and the advanced version for everyone 12 years and older. The game consists of one board, which has a playing side and the instructions on the back, 30 cards, which are all printable or can also be ordered through Caritas too, and the game needs playing tokens, and these can be sourced by the players themselves. The key learning of the game is when people treat others unequally and discriminate, it ends up pushing people apart. We can draw people closer by treating people equally as children of God with the same human dignity, regardless of our differences. This message is hard to miss when you play the game, as players are constantly moving closer and being pushed apart as the game continues. Players sit in a circle with the board in the space between them. There are 2 types of cards: push cards and pattern cards. These need to be shuffled separately and placed face down in 2 piles beside the board. You'll see there are 20 push cards and there are just 10 pattern cards. Before starting the game, players need to pick up 1 pattern card each from the top of the pile. This should not be shared with others. This card will show players how they can win the game. Each player also needs to find their own playing token that will be small enough to fit within the playing spaces. This could be a counter, a dice, or a small figure like the size of a Lego character. The last step of the setup is for players to place their tokens on any red starting space. Note that for a 3-player game, use every second red starting space on the board so that players are equally separated. If there are 4 players, it works best if there is a spread of tokens too, rather than all starting on the same side. And one last reminder, for a 3 to 4 player game, to help with the balance of the game, there are 2 push cards that have the following special icon on them. These can be removed from the card pile when only 3 or 4 players are playing. The youngest player goes first, then play continues in a clockwise direction with players to their left following next. This continues for the rest of the game. After every 3 turns, a push card is flipped over from the top of the pile. This is read out, and the action needs to be taken before the next player takes their turn. The push card deck is made up of 20 unique scenarios of racial discrimination. These are described and illustrated on the cards. When a card is drawn after every 3 turns, the players can read out the event and then take the action at the bottom of the card. This will generally push players' tokens away from the centre and move everyone further from each other. Players move their own playing token according to the specified action, as at times there may be a small choice as to which space to move to. At the bottom of the playing board there is a reminder circuit that will help players to remember when it is time to reveal a push card. After a player has completed their turn, they can move a counter to the next space to keep track of how many turns have been between push card events. A player can choose any 2 actions to perform on their turn. No single action can be performed twice on a turn. The options are shown at the bottom left of the playing board, just in case you forget. Move. Players can choose to move their own playing token 1 space in any direction. Pull. Around the playing space, there are 6 statements which are labelled pull. These are the ways in which we can draw people closer and fight against discrimination and injustice. As an action, a player can choose one of the pull statements, read it out loud, before choosing to pull 2 other playing tokens towards their own. Redraw. A new pattern card can be picked up from the top of the pile to replace a player's old one, which is then placed face down on the bottom of the pile. A player must declare that their pattern has been achieved to win the game. This can happen at any time. If they don't realise before tokens move and the pattern changes, then they must wait until the pattern is formed again. To confirm their victory, a player can show the other players their pattern card. Let's play the standard game together now, and we're going to pretend that we have 4 players, and each of the players have a different token. You can see that I've just shown at the bottom of the screen here as well as on the board. Someone's being Buzz Lightyear. We've got a 20-cent coin, we've got a pink pom-pom, and we've got a yellow Lego brick. And so down the bottom of the board here, we're going to place down the pattern card for each of the players. Normally they would hold it and keep it secret, but of course as we're explaining how the game works, you'll appreciate it's good to be able to see it. So this is the pattern that each of the players will need to find on the board in order to win the game. And we'll just place that down so we can see. There they are there. We've got our push pile up here. We've got our pattern card pile here. And then we're also using a reminder token just to go around that reminder wheel too, to understand which part of the game we're up to. One of the reminders is that when you play a 4-player game, you try to keep the counters sort of symmetrical, so they're sort of spaced out. So we've got 2 counters at this end of the board, and we've got 2 counters down the other end of the board. So we will go maybe across this way in terms of the turn order, pretending that, of course, the players will be around the board, and they'll just play it in a clockwise direction. So the first player to go will be Buzz Lightyear, remembering that for a standard game, there's just the 3 options available. You can either move, you can pull, or you can take a new pattern card. So the player number 1, Buzz Lightyear, is going to choose to move first of all and go forward 1 square. Then they're going to choose to pull 2 counters towards themselves, and they're going to choose one of the pull statements around the board and say that out loud. So in this case, they might read out this one here, which is include everyone, which says make sure no one misses out and can always participate regardless of who they are. Now they can choose 2 counters to move towards themselves, and perhaps they will choose this one and this one here. That person has now completed their turn. They've taken 2 options over here. So they move the reminder wheel 1, and then it moves to the next player. So player number 2, which is the silver coin here, they will possibly do a similar type of move. They're going to move forward 1. Then they're not so happy with their pattern, so they're actually going to, for their second option, they're going to replace their pattern card and put that at the bottom of the pile, and then draw the top one for themselves to keep. And that, of course, would be just held. No one else would see that, but in our game we can see that. So that's going to then move the reminder wheel 1 more. We're getting close to revealing a push card after 3 turns have been, but we're on to the 3rd turn now as player number 3, which is the pink pom-pom, this one here. They're going to choose for their 2 options to move, so they're going to move this way, and they're going to also choose a pull statement, and maybe this time they're going to choose this pull statement over here, which says use kind words. And they'll say out loud, follow Christ's example and bring love and peace through the words we choose. Then they can choose 2 tokens to move 1 square closer to them. So they might choose maybe Buzz Lightyear and also the yellow Lego space. Now, we've had 3 turns. We now can see that the next particular action is a push card. So we've had 3 turns. So a push card is just revealed from the top of the pile, and it's placed down for everyone to see. And one person will read out what it says. So it says, someone deliberately mispronounces your name to make you feel bad. Then at the bottom of the card, it says the action is for all players are pushed 3 spaces from the center. So that means all of the players, and they do this all individually. So player number 1 is going to move their counter 3 spaces back, and they'll end up right on the boundary, going from that blue center hexagon. Player number 2 is going to move back 3, so they might choose to go 1, 2, 3, just behind where they started. The player number 3, the pink pom-pom, can go 1, 2, 3. Now, they could either go 1, 2 and stop, or they could move a further third one if they want to, but we'll stop on the boundary. And player number 4, the yellow Lego space, is going to go back 3 as well. They might go 1, 2, 3 from the center. So everyone's been pushed back because of this action, and now we carry on. So if you remember, player 1, 2 and 3 have been. Now it will be player 4's turn, and we'll just move that across to show that we've done the push card already. So player number 4, the yellow token, is going to move 1, and they will pull as well. So they're going to choose maybe this one, celebrate differences. Remember, we are one human family and our differences make us stronger. Because we're celebrating those differences, we can now choose 2 counters to move 1 closer, pull them closer to them. So they might choose this one, 1, and this one, 2. Then we're going to move the reminder wheel across 1. And we'll move on to the next turn. So we're back to player 1 now, going around the circle. So player number 1 is potentially going to move forward 1 as their first turn. Then they'll choose another pull statement. Maybe they'll choose this one, always show respect. Respect everyone and treat them as the treasures they are, children of God. Once they've called out the pull statement, they can then draw 2 people closer to them. So they might choose this one to go 1 and maybe this one to go 1. Then they're going to move the reminder wheel 1 space, and we're up to the 3rd turn before another push statement is revealed, and we're on to player number 2, the silver coin. They might move 1, and then they might choose to also pull again. So they might choose to do maybe stand up for others, this one here, and they'll call out, be an upstander and help bring justice when others may be vulnerable and treated unfairly. So we're going to draw 2 people closer by 1 hexagon, this one and maybe this one. And that's the end of the 3rd turn, and then we're up to a push card again. So another push card is revealed from the top of the pile. And this one says, you are not chosen for a role you are wanting due to your ethnicity. The action is all players must return to their starting space. Oh boy, so they're going to have to go back to where they started, every player. So they'd take their own token and they'd move it back to the place where they started, and they're actually not too far away from it at this point in time. Okay, we've done the push. Now we move on to the next person's turn again. So we're up to player number 3 now, which is the pink pom-pom. And they are going to move 1. They're going to go towards the center, and then they're going to choose a pull statement. They might do this one over here, refocus. See things through God's eyes, where all are equal and hearts are more important than appearance. Now they've tried to pull people closer. They're going to choose 2 tokens, 1 and 2, draw them a bit closer. And we'll move the reminder wheel again onto the second player for this sort of round, which is player number 4. And they are going to do a similar thing. In fact, they might pull to start with. So they're going to look and decide to do maybe include everyone again. Make sure no one misses out and can always participate regardless of who they are. So we're going to draw the silver coin 1 space closer. And we're going to choose to bring the pink pom-pom one space closer. That is player 4's turn. And just to show the end of the turn, we'll move the second square across on the reminder wheel. And now we're up to player 1 again. So player 1 is going to move forward 1. And they're going to then choose to pull by choosing Celebrate Differences. Remember, we are one human family and our differences make us stronger. They're going to pull the silver coin one space closer and the pink pom-pom one space closer towards them. And that means we're now up to another push card. So the push card that is revealed can be read out, and it says, people laugh at what you are eating because they haven't seen it before. And the action that is said at the bottom of the card is all players are pushed 2 spaces from the center. So we're going to move the reminder wheel 1 across to show we've done the push card, but now we're going to take the action. So everyone needs to move back 2 from the center, and they will do that themselves. So player 1 will move perhaps back to here. The pink pom-pom will move back maybe 1, 2, like so. The silver coin will go maybe 1, 2. And the 4th player might go 1, 2 and end up right back in that far corner. Then we know we're back to a round of 3 turns again after the push cards. And the player who had just been, if I remember, was player number 1. So player number 2 now is going to go, which is the silver coin. So they're going to move forward 1, and then they're going to pull by choosing include everyone, make sure no one misses out. You can always participate regardless of who they are. And they're going to draw the pink pom-pom and Buzz Lightyear, player 1, towards them. That's their turn. Move the reminder wheel. Player number 2, which is the pink pom-pom, they are going to move forward 1, and then they're going to also draw 2 players together. So pull them by maybe standing up for others. Be an upstander and help bring justice when others may be vulnerable and treated unfairly. They're going to draw Buzz Lightyear and the silver coin closer to them. That means we've had our second turn on the reminder wheel. We're up to our 3rd turn before a push card, and it's now up to player number 4. Player number 4, who's a bit further away now, will choose to move 1, and then they might think, well, my pattern, it's not so good for me, but I could change that. No, they're going to pull as well. So they might decide to go for refocus. See things through God's eyes, where all are equal and hearts are more important than appearance. They might choose Buzz Lightyear and the pink pom-pom to move 1 closer towards them. Then again, we're up to a push card. So the push card is revealed. You are excluded from a game because you are a bit different from others. All players are pushed 1 space from the center. So again, each player is going to take their own counter and move them back 1 space away from the center. So it'll look a bit like that. Then we are back to, I think we've done the push card there. We're up to player number 1 again, I think. So player number 1 is going to Buzz Lightyear. They're going to think, how do I get this pattern? I'm going to have to get really close to other counters. So I'm going to have to move maybe 1 forward that way. Then I'm going to pull 2 counters towards me, and I'm going to choose always show respect as my statement to call out. Respect everyone and treat them as the treasures they are, children of God. Then they might pull maybe the yellow counter 1, and they might also pull the pink pom-pom as well. That's their turn. Then we're up to player number 2, the silver coin. Silver coin might be thinking, right, I can actually almost get my pattern now. I've got to get 3 counters side by side in that pattern there. Is there a way they can do it? Possibly not quite yet. But they might decide to move to here. And then they're going to pull, and they're going to do, what will they do? Use kind words, follow Christ's example, and bring love and peace through the words we choose. And then they're going to pull 2, so pull pink pom-pom and also the yellow Lego space. That's our second move in this phase. Then we're up to the pink pom-pom having a turn. Now, looking at their cards, they might also think that they can almost get their pattern. Just having a look to see if they can do it. It's very, very close. They might decide that they are going to move to, I think they can do it. So they're going to move. In fact, they might pull first. So they're going to pull player 2 and 4 by using stand up for others as their pull statement. Be an upstander and help bring justice when others may be vulnerable and treated unfairly. So they're going to pull the silver coin to there. They're going to pull the yellow counter to there. And then if they chose to move as their second turn to there, have they made their pattern? No, they haven't. They've almost made their pattern. I got a bit confused. So we're going to have to carry on. That's the third turn. And they're very close. We're going to move on to the push card now. So we're on to the push cards. So we'll flip the push cards. Someone mimics the way you speak by imitating your accent. All players are pushed 2 spaces from the center. So, Buzz Lightyear is going to probably move to about here, 2 squares. Pink Pom-Pom probably wants to stay fairly close to others, as to the other 2 as well. So they might all move sort of in this direction. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, away from the center. And now we're up to the player number 4, the yellow Lego space. And so we will go, let's see, they need to get into a line there. I think they can do it. I said that last time, didn't I? So the yellow Lego square, which is player number 4, is going to choose to pull, and they're going to do a always show respect. Respect everyone and treat them as the treasures they are, children of God. And they're going to pull both the silver coin and the pink pom-pom 1 square towards them. And by doing so, they've actually created the pattern which they needed to create to win the game. The others were quite close, player 1 and 2. They almost had the pattern. If at any point the pattern was formed as players were being moved or pulled, the player could declare a win and say, that's my pattern. But in this case, I believe pattern number 4 would be the winning pattern, and that was by the player who played it. So they would declare I've won, they'd show their card, and then others would see that they did it. And that is the game. That's the standard game. Hope you enjoyed that. For younger players, aged between 5 to 8 years old, the junior version of the game is much simpler and is played together as a whole group. A teacher or supervising adult can direct the play. The whole group plays with 3 tokens, and they manage these all together to try and achieve their joint aim, which is the same shared pattern. Every member of the group should be aware of the pattern so they know what the goal of the group is. Like in the standard game, each playing token can take 2 actions on their turn. Once all 3 playing tokens have had their turn, draw a push card and follow the action resulting from the scenario. As the junior game is being played together as a group, there is a great opportunity for play to pause to discuss the events that are happening in the game. Adults may ask young people to reflect on the feelings people would have in given situations, and the impact of both the push and the pull examples in terms of how they can draw people together or force them apart. All right, well, let's try out the basic version of the game where you're working together as a group. This is great for junior students and younger children. We are going to share a pattern card. So we're going to take a pattern card here, and this is the pattern card that we are trying to achieve. We're trying to achieve this pattern here with the three counters sort of connected by lines. We're going to place that so everyone can see it. And we're going to have three counters which we share using. So it's going to be Buzz Lightyear, a silver coin, and a pink pom-pom. And as you do for a 3-player game, you spread out your starting tokens so that you're not sitting beside another counter. And we're going to use those three together as a group. We've got our push card pile here, and we've got our reminder track. And we're going to start the reminder track just here, with 1 being the first move. So here we go. We're going to choose to go in this order, I think, just for understanding it. It's probably easier. We'll go Buzz Lightyear, the silver coin, and the pink pom-pom. We'll just keep cycling through that way. But we're working together to try and achieve this pattern here. So the first counter we're going to move is Buzz Lightyear, and we'll go forward 1. The 3 options we have is to move, to pull, and to take a new pattern card. This is quite a good pattern card, so I'm happy with that. Don't need to take that. So we'll move 1, and then we'll pull. So when you pull, you choose a pull statement from around the outside of the board, and you say that out loud. So maybe this one here, include everyone, make sure no one misses out, and can always participate regardless of who they are. Once you've called out the pull statement, you can then pull the other 2 counters towards that counter. So I'm going to move the pink pom-pom and the silver coin. Now we've moved our first player. Now the second token's going to go. This one here. So we might do the same thing, but we might start with the pull. So we'll start with a pull statement, maybe use kind words, follow Christ's example, and bring love and peace through the words we choose. So we can pull Buzz Lightyear and the pink pom-pom 1 square closer to the silver coin. And then for the second option for the silver coin, we might want to move towards the center 1. Then we're on to our third. We're going to move our reminder wheel 1 square across. We're up to number 3, third player before a push card is revealed. So here's our third counter. And that counter, we might move 1 to there, and then we might pull as well. We might do always show respect. Respect everyone and treat them as the treasures they are, children of God. And when we do that, we draw people closer. And so we'll move this one and this one square closer to the pink pom-pom. And that's where we will stop in this phase, because now the next action, as our reminder wheel tells us, is a push card needs to be revealed. And we haven't quite achieved our pattern. We got close, but not quite. So we're going to turn over the push card, and it says, we can call this out so people can understand what it says. You wear traditional clothing for a festival, and people make you feel ashamed. Oh no. All players are pushed, this is the action, all players are pushed 2 spaces from the center. So the center is the blue hexagon in the middle there. We need to move all 3 counters, because we're still 1 playing group really. We're going to move them 2 spaces back. 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1, 2. So we've been pushed apart because of this particular scenario. It's a shame. We now need to try and draw closer again. So we're going to move our reminder wheel. We've covered the push. Now we're back to 1, 2, 3. So our first, second, and third counters. So Buzz Lightyear might do a similar move. We'll move 1 square, and then we'll choose to pull. and we might choose to refocus this one here. So we'll call it out for everyone to hear. See things through God's eyes, where all are equal and hearts are more important than appearance. Then we're going to draw the pink pom-pom and the silver coin one square closer. So player number one, or counter number one, has been. Counter number two is the silver coin. We're going to maybe move one square to there as our first option, and then our second option, we might want to pull, and we might choose this one here: stand up for others. Be an upstander and help bring justice when others may be vulnerable and treated unfairly. That's a great thing to do. And so because we're doing that, we're now going to draw both Buzz Lightyear and the pink pom-pom one square closer. Move the reminder wheel. We're on to the third player before the push card is revealed. So the third player is the pink pom-pom. Well, they might think, gosh, I think we might be able to get a new pattern. This pattern is not quite working for us. They might choose to replace the pattern, put it on the bottom of the pile, and then take the new top pattern. Oh, it's very close. All three counters are close together. That's easy to remember. That's their first option. And then the second option for the pink pom-pom might be again to either move or pull. They might move in this case. They'll move one square closer towards the middle and the silver coin. And now we're up to, our reminder wheel tells us we're up to the push card being revealed. So we turn over the push card. We haven't achieved our pattern yet as a group. Our push card says, you feel embarrassed as classmates want to touch and feel your hair because it looks different. All players are pushed 2 spaces from the center. So we're going to do similar to what we did last time. We'll go 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1, 2. They're moving back from the center 2 spaces. And we're going to move our reminder wheel 1 across. And now we're up to, again, the phase 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. So starting with Buzz Lightyear, I think we might be able to do it in this turn, perhaps, if we work well as a group. So Buzz Lightyear is going to go forward 1. Then we could perhaps pull again. We might celebrate differences. Remember, we are one human family, and our differences make us stronger. And because of that, when we celebrate differences, we get closer together. So we can pull those 2 in. We're up to the second counter now. Move our reminder wheel. Second counter is silver one. I reckon we might be able to do it actually on this turn. So if we move 1 for our first option, and then for our second option, we might choose to pull, and we can do maybe always show respect. Respect everyone and treat them as treasures they are, children of God. Because we're doing that, we can pull 2 tokens towards ourselves, and that could be Buzz Lightyear, and it could be the pink pom-pom, and we've just created the pattern on our card, and we've done it. We have achieved our task as a group. And we have conquered the basic game. Very quick, but along the way, we have reminded ourselves about some of the ways in which we can show love, and we can live out Catholic social teaching and be more like Jesus in the way that we treat others. And we've also revealed a couple of scenarios, or a few scenarios, that perhaps we can talk more about as a group and unpack how we would respond in particular situations. That's the basic game.
For older students, aged 12 and up, push and pull can be played with extra turn options. Players have 2 extra options that they may choose when considering their 2 actions on their turn. CST Doorway. Each of the pull statements shown around the board connect with a relevant Catholic social teaching principle. These are shown by a logo on the perimeter of the board. The spaces where the logos are found act like doorways. When a player's token is on a logo space, as a chosen action, they can move anywhere on the board to a space that is exactly 4 away from any other player's token. This may help them get closer to others, to speed up the time it will take to achieve their pattern. Rotating push cards. In the standard game, there is no way to stop push cards or discrimination events happening. These will always happen after every 3 turns. In the advanced game, a player can take the selfless act of using one of their actions to put others first. When this happens, a player rotates the top card on the push card deck to show that they want to stop it from happening. The only way to stop a push card from being revealed is if 3 cards have been rotated on the top of the deck after 3 turns. When this happens, a push card is not revealed, and instead, the rotated cards are reset to fit nicely on the top of the deck. Play then continues with the next player in turn. There may be instances when after 3 turns, only 1 or 2 push cards have been rotated on the top of the deck. Unfortunately, this means that the top push card is still revealed. This may result in a card below still being rotated. If so, it can stay this way. Alright, let's try the advanced game. So this game is for older students and young adults, and it involves adding in 2 extra turn options. So it's a bit more complex, and we'll see those as we play the game. We're going to play a dummy version now using 5 tokens, so 5 players. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in that order. They'll be sitting around the table. We've got our pattern card pile here and our push card pile here. And as we'd always do, every player would take a pattern card. Generally, you would keep this to yourselves, but just for the video, we're just going to place it at the bottom of the screen here. So you can see all the patterns that each player has, and this is what they need to form on the board in order to win the game. We have matching counters on the board to this. So you can see that we're going to start with the yellow Lego square. They're already on the board. We're going to go all the way through to the silver coin. All 5 of those counters are on the board, so you can see them. When you play it normally, obviously, you just have the 1 counter on the board. So we're going to start with our reminder wheel on the push, and that enables us to go 1, 2, 3 before the next push card is revealed. This is the push pile here. And so let's start off with player number 1, and that is the yellow Lego space. And maybe we'll use one of the first new options. So one of the options is to rotate, it's the bottom one, rotate the top push card pile. So if that is chosen as a turn, what the player would do is just reach out and they just rotate the top card a little bit like that, so you know that they are trying to stop a push card event happening. In order for a push card event to stop happening in a round, it means that 3 turns in a row, there'd need to be a rotation happening. So players would need to selflessly choose to stop bad things happening rather than aiding their own movement. That'll probably make a bit more sense as we go through. So that's their first option. And then their second option is maybe just to move forward 1. We then go to player number 2, and we'll move our player reminder wheel across there. We're up to number 2 now. Player number 2 is the blue castle, and they will decide to maybe pull. So they're going to choose one of the pull statements from around the board. They might choose this one: use kind words, follow Christ's example, and bring love and peace through the words we choose. When they do that, they draw 2 counters closer to them. So they might decide to draw the yellow Lego space and the pink pom-pom 1 space closer. And then as their second turn option, they'll also do the rotation of the push card on the top of the pile. So now we've got 2 push cards that have been rotated. And that's looking good. We've got 2 from 2 so far. We might stop that push card being drawn over at the start. Then on to the third player, according to the reminder wheel, and that's the pink pom-pom. And so the pink pom-pom is going to maybe also choose to rotate the top push cards around. So now we've got 3 cards rotated. And they will also move, and they might move this way. And so they've taken their 2 turns. We're up to now a push card event, but this is where the advanced rules come into play. If 3 cards have been rotated during those last 3 turns that the players have taken, then what will happen is the cards are just placed back as they were before on the pile, and that has stopped the push card being turned over because they were working together and they were selflessly trying to stop those push events, which is great. And so that push event, which should have happened, no longer happens. Now we move on to the next player's turn, which was the dinosaur. So the dinosaur is going to choose to move backwards. They're going to go this way. Now you can see these icons on the border of the board. These are what we call CST doorways. Each of these are a particular icon and they match a particular Catholic social teaching principle, which corresponds to the pull statement beside them. If the player was to be on one of those squares, as part of their turn options, they could use it as a portal to transport them from one side of the board to the other with a few rules in play. So we'll get to use that one too. So that's their first option, the dinosaur. And then the second thing they might do is to redraw a pattern card. So they don't like that one. They'll put that on the bottom and take a new one. There we go. And we'll move the reminder wheel. So on to the second player now, which is this one here. The silver coin hasn't been yet, still on their starting square as well. They're going to move forward 1, and they're going to rotate one of the cards on the push deck. So there's only 1 rotated from 2 players so far. We're now moving on to the third player's turn, which is back to the first player that we started with, the yellow Lego square. And that person is going to decide to move forward 1, and they will also rotate 1 on the top of the push card pile as one of the advanced options. So we've now got up to the next push card reveal, and there are 2 cards only that have been turned, not 3. So it doesn't stop the push card from being revealed. However, the one below this one, because this one gets revealed even though it's turned, and we'll do this action, the card that has been rotated below that stays rotated. So that is not lost. If only 1 card was rotated on the top of the push card pile, then that's the one that gets revealed. It would be pointless, but this is still going to be useful, hopefully, in the coming rounds. So the action and the scenario says you read online a very negative and racist post that makes you feel uncomfortable. All players are pushed to the boundary from the center. Whoa, so every counter will need to move to the very boundary, all the way back from the center. And we have now done the push event. So we're going to have to work hard to try and get closer together again. So we're going to go to the next player's turn, which is now the blue castle. We've done the push card event. So the blue castle, they are going to move forward 1, and they will pull using refocus, see things through God's eyes where all are equal and hearts are more important than appearance. So they might draw the pink pom-pom 1 space closer to them, and also the silver coin. There we go. We'll move on to the next player now, which is the pink pom-pom. Now, they're going to move 1 space, and then they're currently on a CST doorway. So they're going to use this turn option here, which is an advanced one, which is use the CST doorway. And as their second turn, they're allowed to move anywhere on the board, and they have to place their counter 4 spaces, exactly 4 spaces from another player's token. So I might choose to come all the way over here. I want to get close to counters so I can get my pattern. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. This space here is exactly 4 spaces from the silver coin. So that is perfectly fine. It doesn't matter that I'm only 2 squares away from another. I've moved from here to here using the doorway, and that's the end of my turn. Move on to the next player, which is the dinosaur. And so the dinosaur is over here. The dinosaur might move one space, and then they might decide to pull, and they're going to pull using include everyone. Make sure no one misses out and can always participate regardless of who they are. They can say that out loud. And then what they're going to do is draw some counters towards themselves. So the silver coin will come one, and maybe the yellow Lego space will go one towards them as well. That is the end of their turn, and now we're up to a push statement. So this top push card here was rotated a couple of turns ago, but now it gets revealed because we don't have 3 turned. Only 3 turned would stop the push card happening. So this one gets revealed, and it says, you're excluded from a game because you're a bit different from others. All players are pushed one space from the center. So that means that all counters will move one space back. So this one's going to move one space from the center. And this one will go one space back from the center, as will the silver coin and the dinosaur and the castle even. So we're towards the end of the boundaries again. That means we can move our reminder wheel across, and we're into a new phase of 3 turns before a push. So we're up to the silver coin. Silver coins looking at their pattern, thinking they want to get close to other counters, very close. So they might move across one, and then they will choose a pull. They might choose to pull using the refocus. See things through God's eyes, where all are equal and hearts are more important than appearance. They're going to draw the pink pom-pom and maybe the dinosaur one space towards themselves. And that's their turn. Then we've got the second player to go, which will be the yellow Lego. So if they pull using stand up for others, be an upstander and help bring justice when others may be vulnerable and treated unfairly, they're going to pull the pink pom-pom one space towards themselves, and also the silver coin, and then they might end up moving as well. So they might move to about there. They're getting very close. They've been. Now we're up to the third player since the push, which is the blue castle. And they are looking at their board position thinking, well, they can't really form the pattern by themselves, but they can form it with other counters potentially, or at least get closer to it. So they might decide to, let's say, move forward one, and then they might pull, and they'll pull using the celebrate differences. Remember, we are one human family and our differences make us stronger. And so they might pull the yellow token 1 and the silver token 1. They're very close to making that, where are they? The straight line here, but not quite. So that's their turn. That leads us to a push reveal, and there's been no rotating the cards on the top, so we have to draw the top cards. And this one says, you notice a nasty message graffitied on the wall targeting a certain group. And it looks like the message says go away. The action is all players are pushed 3 spaces from the center. Now, lots of players are quite close to the boundary already, so it might not make too much of a difference. The blue castle might decide to go something like 1, 2, 3. They can actually move across that boundary line to the doorway. The dinosaur could potentially do the same thing. They might just go 1, 2, 3, and these counters might move back 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. No patterns have been made yet. We can move the reminder wheel across. Now we're on to the next phase of 3 again. And we are up to the pink pom-pom. Move one space to here. And then they might think of maybe rotating the card on the top. Or in fact, what they could do is hope that they reveal the correct pattern by changing the one they've got. So they might pull that one over and look, they have magic. So on their second turn, they have chosen a new pattern, and magically it's the pattern that they've formed in the last turn. So they would declare themselves winner. They would then show their card, and they have done it. So there's an example of the advanced game where we've incorporated the 2 additional rules, where there are the ability to rotate push cards to try and stop push events happening, plus the doorway, using the CST doorway, which in this game has actually helped out a lot, because the player who ended up moving actually ended up winning, which was the pink pom-pom. That's it. Thanks for watching.
Once you've got a feel for the way push and pull works, there are other ways that it can be played. Here are a few suggestions. You could play for points, so rather than being the winner getting the first pattern, you could get a point for getting a pattern and then continue the game to get more points. If you have an even number of players, you could play teams and help each other out and score points together. You could play the long game and have players starting in the far corners of the board. You could mix up the turn order. Push and pull has been designed so that it is a quick and easy game. This will allow for players to play the game a number of times to experience a range of the push and pull scenarios. At the end of the playing time, it is highly recommended that players have time to reflect on these scenarios. On the back of the board, there are some focus questions to help players reflect on what they have seen. What scenarios were revealed in your game? What was the worst event that happened? How would you have responded if you were the target of the discrimination? If you were an observer, how could you have responded in order to have been an upstander for justice? What can we learn from the game? Have you ever experienced times when you have been pulled closer to others or pushed apart from others? If you're using the game in a school and need more copies, you can order more game sets for free at education@caritas.org.nz. Alternatively, the game has been made so that it can be easily printed or copied. Printable files can be found at www.caritas.org.nz. We hope you enjoy playing push and pull and would love to hear any ideas you have to make it even better. Send your ideas to education@caritas.org.nz and have fun!